All right, beautiful people. Welcome to another live stream. I hope you're all doing fantastic tonight. We're going to see who gets first in chat tonight. I think we got a good one in store for you guys. We're going to be talking about the difference between fighting with thoughts and the accepting inner voice, right? Because, I sense a little bit of confusion around the topic. We talk here, obviously, quite often about the accepting inner voice, right? About not adding fuel to the fire, as we call it, the accepting inner voice, living your life, aka positive behaviors. But I feel like there might be some slight confusion around the whole topic of Wonder Bro. What is the difference between me fighting with the thoughts and the feelings? Right? I probably should have put thoughts and feelings in the title. We'll fix that later. Wonder Bro, what's the difference between fighting with my thoughts and feelings and the accepting inner voice? Because they feel more or less the same. I've heard that before. Feels like I'm getting involved, Wonder Bro. You tell us not to get involved in a fight. Feels like I'm using reassurance. You tell us not to. You tell us not to fight with our thoughts, but you tell us to use the accepting inner voice, right? It just kind of goes on and on from there. I get a ton of questions around that topic. What is the difference between fighting with my thoughts and feelings and the accepting inner voice? So I just want to make it as clear. You know that's usually our goal here on the channel. I just want to make it as clear as possible tonight what the difference there is, guys. Ghost is going to get first in chat. What's up, Ghost? Ophelia right behind him. Hello, Lisa. Welcome. So give me 1 second, guys. 1 second. Send out some notifications real quick. 1 second. All right. It's actually Mikey, just different username. What's up, Mike? How you doing, dude? All right, I'm glad you said something, because I never would have guessed that you'd be here under Lisa. So I'm glad you said something. All right, guys. I think we're good there on our notifications. You guys know I don't necessarily trust that notification bell. It's not the most trustworthy thing in the world. Send out a notification there. Ring it anyway, though. Ring it anyway. Sometimes it does decide to work, and when it does decide to work, it's not half bad. So ring it anyway. But there we go. We got our notifications sent out. We're just going to give it a minute or two and see who wants to join us live. Once we've waited around for a bit, we'll go ahead and get started. So again, we're going to be talking about the difference between fighting with thoughts. And like I said, I should have put feelings in the title as well. The difference between fighting with thoughts and feelings and the accepting inner voice. So we're going to talk about that. Try to get rid of anybody's confusion here tonight. Been slacking, haven't been here in a while. It used to be Mikey, the username. Oh, wait a minute. So you're not Mikey, Mike the admin? I got an admin named Mike. That's not who you are. I'm so confused. Are you you're a different Mikey, I think, because you said you haven't been here in a while. Yolando, what's up, dude? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing great. All right, chat's starting to fill up. Apparently that bell did work tonight, so that's the good news. All right, guys, I don't want to keep you waiting too long, so let's go ahead and jump into it and hopefully have a good stream tonight. So the difference between fighting with thoughts and feelings and the accepting inner voice. Again, I get a lot of questions kind of surrounding this topic. Wonder Bro, what is the difference? You tell us to use the accepting inner voice, but I feel like that's a fight, right? And you're so against the fight. So why do you tell us to use the accepting inner voice, and what's the difference? Let's talk about that. So fighting, okay, if you are fighting with your thoughts and feelings, we're going to break down fighting versus the accepting inner voice. If you are fighting with your thoughts and feelings, fighting involves number one, negativity, and number two, fighting involves getting involved with the specifics. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Fighting, if you're fighting with your inner voice, that means you're getting involved with the specifics. So let me give you an example there. Let's say you have a thought that you might embarrass yourself out in public, right? That's a pretty common one. Of course, there's a million different examples. You can apply this to whatever your thoughts are. But let's say you get a thought, I'm embarrassed about, or I'm worried about being embarrassed or embarrassing myself out in public, losing control, right? Or maybe have a fear of vomiting in public, right? I'm afraid of that, and I get that thought, and that thought pops up. And we talked yesterday about connections. You've made the connection by freaking out over that thought in the past, that this means danger. So you get that thought, the anxiety comes, right? Because you've made that bad connection. Now, if you were to fight with that thought and the feelings that come with it, it would look like this. You would say to yourself something like, well, if I do vomit in public, right, maybe I could have a quick exit and I can get out of there as fast as possible, and hopefully it'll never happen again, but I really hope I don't vomit in public, and gosh, that would just be horrible. And is there any way I can avoid, is there any way I can make sure 110% that I can avoid embarrassing myself in public? So you're getting involved with the specifics, right? You're getting very specific. And anytime you get too specific with your inner voice, it's a fight, right? You're getting into an argument, right, with whatever the thought is. You're getting into an argument involving the specifics of what you fear. So you're telling yourself things like, "Oh God, I hope I don't vomit in public because this might happen if I do that," or "I hope I don't embarrass myself in public because this might happen, and if that happens, then it might lead to this happening, and it all could have been avoided if I just didn't go out in public and embarrass myself." And you're getting involved with the specifics, right? This is a fight. You are gassing up, and you are telling the amygdala, "Hey, look at me with all of this fearful negativity and this fight that I'm doing with this thought or feeling," right? You're telling the amygdala by doing that, "Hey, I want you to keep the connection that this is a danger." So now every time you have the thought about embarrassing yourself in public, you're automatically going to get some anxiety, right? Because you're forming a "this is dangerous" connection by arguing with it and fighting with it and getting involved with that negativity. So that is a fight. If you get too specific with the thought, then you can almost guarantee that you're fighting, right? So what is the accepting inner voice then? What are some examples of the accepting inner voice? How can we tell the difference between the two? Now, the accepting inner voice looks like this. It is short, it is sweet, it is simple, and it doesn't deal with too many specifics. So let's say that again for everyone in chat tonight. The accepting inner voice is short, sweet, and simple, and it doesn't deal with too many specifics. So fighting is negativity, and it's dealing with the specifics of the thought. The accepting inner voice, short, sweet, and simple, and it doesn't deal with too much of the specifics. Now, let's give an example of that. So, same example. You're chilling. You've made the false connection in your brain, embarrassing myself in public. The thought of that leads to anxiety because that's how I've wired it. That comes up, right? That pops up in your mind. You automatically feel a little bit of anxiety because you've made the false connection. What is the accepting inner voice in that moment? The accepting inner voice could look like this. Okay, just had that thought. That's all right. It's all right that thought's there. Right? It means that I'm retraining my brain. It's okay for that thought to be there. I can handle it, right? Or the thought comes in, and here comes the anxiety with the thought. You say, "Oh yeah, there's that bad connection. That's fine. I'm going to let that thought hang out. It's all right. I'm retraining my brain. I'm making new connections. If that happens, it happens. So I'm just going to keep giving examples. Don't think you've got to say all these things, right? Because we can go on and on for a while giving examples. Don't think you got to say all these things. You can just, pick and choose. But, here comes the thought, I might embarrass myself in public due to the bad wiring, right, that you've made with that thought. You get some anxiety. You could say something like, "You know what? I know the real me before this bad connection was made. I know that I'm not truly that concerned about embarrassing myself in public. It's just a bad connection." Right? So now you're using some facts there. Right? You're using some of your knowledge that you know about the anxiety journey, that you know about false connections, bad wiring. You're using some of that to your advantage and incorporating it into your accepting inner voice. So you're not getting into your head and getting into a big 10-minute, 15-minute drawn-out argument and fight about, "Oh God, this, and what if that, and here's how I can avoid this, and what if that does happen, what will happen if it does happen." So you're not getting into all that specific stuff. You're leaving that behind, right? That's what you've been doing for so long, and that's keeping the bad connection there, right? You're just keeping it short, sweet, and simple, and you're saying something like, "There's that thought. Of course the anxiety is going to come because I've made some bad connections. I know the real me. I know the real me before all this, before the bad connection. I know it's just a bad connection. right? So I'm not even going to bother getting involved in the specifics. I can handle it. It can hang out as long as it would like. My brain is learning. This is a perfect opportunity. I'm going to take advantage of it. I need this. I want this. Again, I'm just spitballing a million different examples at you here. You don't actually have to say that many things. You just pick one of those and run with it, and that's fine, whatever you want to do. I just love to give examples, right? Do you guys enjoy examples? Let me hear it from you, chat. Do you enjoy examples? Do you want more examples? Because we can give them all night. So again, fighting is getting involved with the specifics, guys. It's trying to predict the future. It's trying to say, well, if that happens, what would happen? It's trying to say, well, here's the chain reaction of bad things that would happen, right? And so forth and so on. It's getting involved with the specifics. So again, we don't want to get involved with the specifics. We want to keep it very short, sweet, and simple. And we want to use some of your anxiety knowledge to your advantage, right? So again, thought comes. We'll give a different example this time. Let's say the thought says, oh, I gotta be home alone, right? I've had several people tell me that was a big one for them. Oh, I gotta be home alone, right? And then the thought comes, and you've made that bad connection because you freaked out over it in the past, and you told yourself fearful things about it in the past. So you've made that bad connection. So the thought comes, oh, I gotta be home alone, and then the anxiety is pretty much automatic at that point because the bad connection is there. But then you say, you know what? That's okay, right? You say, you know what? It's okay that I've made the bad connection. Not a problem, right? I know the real me. I know the real me's not so worried about this. I've just got some bad wiring going on. This anxiety can be there. That thought can be there. I know the real me. I'm going to take advantage of this. This is an opportunity, right? So you're using your anxiety knowledge that you've learned here on the channel to your benefit. You're not getting involved in the what ifs and the trying to predict the future and what if that bad thing does happen. You're leaving all that behind, or you're catching it, right? Because we talk about how that negative inner voice can seem automatic out of habit. You're at least catching it and turning it into something like, you know what? I know the real me here. I know I've just got some bad wiring going on. I'm going to take advantage of this. It's allowed to be there, right? So you're not getting involved in the specifics. You're just using that accepting inner voice to give you some motivation to let that anxiety kind of hang out and to teach your brain that this is okay. You can go ahead and start rewiring now. You can go ahead and start breaking that connection now. That's what you're doing. So that's the difference, guys, between fighting, right, and the accepting inner voice. There's a difference there, and I think we made it really, really clear tonight, right? I think we made it really, really clear tonight. Now, another common question that I'll probably get with this is, I want to do this, I want to jump on board with this, but I don't necessarily believe those things you don't have to, right? You don't have to. You don't have to believe the things that the new accepting inner voice that you're telling yourself. It'll become more natural in time. Do the work anyway, whether you fully believe in it or not. Do the work anyway. You got to at least try to grasp a new perspective. You've got to at least try to have a bit of an attitude shift in those moments when you're triggered if you want some new connections to be made. So any excuse that you can really come up with as to why you're not doing it really doesn't fly, because we've at least got to give it a go. We got to keep at it until we get some new connections made, right? So I don't want you guys to talk yourself out of it by telling yourself things like, well, here's why I can't, and here's why I can't. Keep at it, regardless of all those reasons why you think you can't. We've got to get some new connections going. So, again, fighting is negativity. Fighting is trying to fight with the specifics. Fighting is trying to say, oh, well, what if this, and try to predict the future and some sort of timeline, and what if this does happen, and what can I do to avoid this? Fighting is getting really involved in the specifics, all right, you guys, and the accepting inner voice is the opposite. It's short, sweet, and simple. It's using your anxiety knowledge to your advantage. You catch that negativity and you pair it with the new inner voice, which is something like, hey, it's okay that thought's there. It's just some bad wiring. It's a bad connection. There's nothing more for me to figure out here. Just a bad connection, and I can rewire that. So I'm going to take advantage of feeling anxious. I'm going to let it hang out. I'm going to keep this new accepting inner voice going, and I'm going to go do something productive and positive, or keep focusing on my task at hand, right? So that's the difference. Does everybody now understand the difference between fighting and the accepting inner voice? If you do understand the difference, drop an emoji in the chat. Doesn't matter which one, just let me know you're here. Let me know you're hearing me. If you understand that difference, drop some sort of emoji, because this is crucial and this is important. It's very important for your recovery that you start to step out of the fighting, and you start to catch the fighting inner voice, and you start to replace it with your anxiety knowledge, accepting inner voice that says, hey, don't need to overthink this. This is a bad connection, bad wiring. I know the real me. I'm happy it's here because this is an opportunity. I'm going to let it be here while I continue on and do my thing and mind my business so that I can make new connections, right? So that I can make new connections. So if you understand that, if you understand the difference between the two there, right, then you are right on track. And understanding is 50%, right? I should have said you're right on track if you're understanding and using it, because of course, nothing's really going to change or happen if you're not doing the using it part, right? And that sounds obvious, but it's something that we have to point out, because a lot of people are kind of stuck in the understanding part and they're not really doing the doing part. So it's easy to come on here and watch the streams. It's easy to say, okay, well, now I totally understand the difference between the fighting inner voice and the accepting inner voice. It's easy to do all that stuff. Like, that stuff's easy. All you got to do is sit and listen. It's in those moments, are you applying it? It's in those moments, are you using it? It's in those moments, are you really giving it an effort, right? Because that's how we're going to get new pathways to be formed. That's how we're going to get those new brain connections to be formed. So to break out of the cycle, not only do you have to learn the knowledge like you're doing here tonight, so congrats on that part, but you also have to start using the knowledge. All right, you guys, so that was a mouthful. That is the stream for tonight, guys. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a big thumbs up. I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you so much for watching. We're going to turn on some music, chill out a little bit, relax and chat, and see who we've got in here tonight. I hope you're all doing amazing. Where's our playlist at? Right here it is. So we'll wait for that ad to pass. Mikey, okay, I remember your name and your picture now. It has been a while. It has been a while. I haven't seen you in, wow, God, what has it been, like at least 2 years? I don't know, since the last time I've seen you. How have you been, dude? How have you been? Yeah, I do remember that username now. Let's see. If the music's too low or too loud, just let me know, guys, and we'll make adjustments. Travis, what's up, dude? Ghost still with us? Moon, Miss Moon, hello. What's up, Kev? Hello. Let's see here. Camping out in the game room with my cat who had cancer. She's hanging in there. That must be difficult, dude. I can only imagine. So best of luck to you with that situation, and most love I could possibly send is coming your way. But I said, didn't want to get some work done, but I said, I'm being bluffed and now doing what I need to do. Love it. I don't know why it was so difficult for me to get those words out. But love it. Today I got lost trying to avoid traffic, backed up in the rain, ended up lost on E, needed gas, 45 minutes late to work. Jesus. Wanted to cry but told myself, just accept this, remain calm. It really helped me. My whole day tested me and still remained with me. This is still remained with, okay, this is teaching me something, and my day ended up as if I won. Very minor anxiety. So you kept that accepting inner voice, right? You didn't get too involved and, oh God, what if I, run out of gas, and what if this happened? You didn't get too involved in that. You caught that. You came in with the accepting inner voice. You said, hey, I need this. You started giving the facts, right, to yourself rather than the stories. And you see what happened. You see what happened. Congrats on that. That is awesome. It's been real long. I still watch your videos, just haven't been live. I've been doing better. I still get anxious at times, but I'm a lot better. Thanks for asking. I think last time we really spoke, you were doing live streams on that game. Yes, that has been so long ago. Well, it's good to see you, Mikey, and I'm glad you've benefited from the advice. I'm glad you're doing better, dude. Christopher, what is up, Christopher? Good to see you, man. Yeah, so that was a pretty big test for you, Ophelia, and it seemed like you passed with flying colors, so congrats. You didn't get involved in the negative inner voice. You just kept pulling out the accepting inner voice. You kept giving yourself the facts. What are the facts? I'm not in danger. Just a little bit of anxiety, bad connection, right? This is an opportunity. I need this. I got this. The facts are just a bad connection. I'm just going to let it hang out. I'm going to let it happen, right? This is good for me. So you kept bringing out the facts instead of going with the negative inner voice, and I guarantee you were tempted to do that, right? You probably did a few times and had to catch yourself, if I had to guess. But that's normal, and that's what we call the practice. That's what we call doing the work. So congrats on that. It seems like you really applied everything that you've been learning here, and that's what's going to make the difference, is that you're actually applying it. So good job. Good job. Yeah, that does suck, Pandemonium. That's not easy. We're all here for you. We got your back. We can offer as much support as we can possibly offer here in the community. So yeah, losing a pet sucks. I didn't feed the fire. Exactly. Exactly. Like I said, that must have been quite the test for you. That's a pretty big exposure, right? That's a pretty big ordeal that you went through. So one thing after the other, it sounds like. So if you can handle that and you can keep that accepting inner voice, then you're right on track. Losing a pet really is tough. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, yeah. I would wager to say it's one of the tougher things in life. It's not easy. It's an emotional sort of roller coaster. Did Ghost dip on us? Where's Ghost at? Me and Ghost spent like an hour last night just chatting about computers on stream. Hey, but now's a good time, guys. Now's a good time. If you've got any questions, to ask them. Feel free to ask them. There's no such thing as a dumb question, right? If it's a simple question that is holding you back from getting started, please ask it. Please ask it so we can get you going. We can get you started. Love the chat. The chat's always awesome. I'm at the gym. Nice, Ghost. Dedicated to getting those gains. All right, I see you. Was remembered all you told me and said either freak out or just accept I'm going through this. My job was understanding. Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. That's actually a good way to put it. Your job, right, is just to understand what's going on in the moment and allow that moment to be as it is, right, and to form those new connections. So that is an interesting, I'm not sure if that's what you meant by that, but that's how I'm going to take it. That is an interesting way to put that, and I agree with it. Cat's on painkillers and steroids, so she's okay. She's okay. She's not going through any sort of pain. I like that. But it's a matter of time. Yeah, that's the sad part, right? That's the sad part, but at least she's comfortable, right? There's always a positive we can try to grasp and look at. What's up, Red? Miss a lot of your streams. Do you have a schedule? No, we don't actually have a schedule. We just kind of, well, here lately we've been doing streams kind of at night around this time, so not sure if that'll change anytime soon, but that's usually I guess you could say, the schedule, or what it has been here recently anyway. Actually, after I got up ahead, it was a car accident. Told myself perhaps I was avoided from being in that place. So just trying to look at the positive side of things, right? Well, it sounds like you really nailed your exposure today. You probably didn't plan on having an exposure today, but it looks like one found you. So you really nailed it, and you can already see the improvement. That is awesome. That is awesome. What are you whining about, Nova? What's up, Big Worm? You want to fill me in, or I'm all ears? Due to loads of family drama, my sister no longer talking to my parents. It happens. I still live with my parents. I'm a bit worried about her being all alone. She has depression too. Well, you know, you can only be there for somebody so much, right? So much, and you can especially only be there for somebody so much if you're not taking care of yourself. But I mean, you said it, right? You said it. All I could do is be there for her while setting boundaries too. Yeah. Yeah, so you already know. Going through burnout. Whenever I did too much on a day, I get symptoms which gives me anxiety. That's a tricky one. Don't confuse burnout with not being willing to face your anxiety, right? But it sounds like you know yourself. It sounds like you know yourself. How long did it take for you to recover? It depends on what you mean by recover. If you mean progress, within the first month, right? Progress. Now that's after multiple failures. That's after not really doing acceptance. That's after having a very negative inner voice for a very long time and not doing the work, right? I started making videos about a year after I did all my work. So it's kind of a timeline there. It depends on what exactly you mean by recover, but it could take you 2 days. It could take you 2 months. It could take you. The reason that's so hard and difficult to answer is because it's pathways, right? And we don't know how many pathways you've got to retrain. We don't know how many pathways JT's got to retrain, Big Worm's got to retrain. So it could be all over the place, right? And then you've got to take into consideration, well, who's really using the advice, who is still getting into the negative inner voice and not using the accepting inner voice. You know, there's so many different factors that go into time frames that they are impossible to give, and everybody's completely different. So it's really just a shot in the dark to try to guess a time frame. You're gonna miss. So what is the difference between the accepting approach to anxiety due to burnout? Because with anxiety, you need to keep doing what you're doing, and with burnout, you need to stop. Yeah, that's going to come down to you knowing yourself, because I can't say, you know, which one is burnout for you and which one is just being unwilling to face your anxiety, right? So there's a difference. In the moment, anxiety's high because you're doing something you're not comfortable with, so you go and lay down and you're like, oh yeah, it's just burnout, right? Probably going to keep you stuck. But if you're truly doing things and you're truly using the advice and you're just fatigued and you need to rest, right, go rest. So there's a difference between the two, and it's really going to come down to knowing yourself. Cardiologists for these heart palpitations, I just know they will say I need a transplant. They're going to say, please get out of the office. You've got anxiety. How many times are you going to do this? Please leave. If you don't leave, I'm calling security. Go home and stop worrying about your heart like you've done for the past 3 years. Stop it now, or I'm calling the police. That's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to say. But I noticed you said real life issue. Unless I'm forgetting something or unless I'm missing something, I don't think. Have you ever said that you have a real life issue with your heart? Because that's a real life issue. But I don't think you have ever said you have a real life issue with your heart, right? You have anxiety around your heart. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you don't have a real life issue with your heart. I mean, again, maybe I could be wrong, but it's just anxiety around the thought of your heart, right? But I don't know. You said real life issue, so I'll wait for you to respond to that. Just a little bit of humor, though, to make you laugh. No, I don't. In my head, it's real life. Okay, so you said when I have a real life issue. You do not have a real life issue. That ain't gonna fly here. You do not have a real life issue. If that was the case, everybody who has anxiety and triggers around health anxiety would have quote unquote real life issues. A real life issue is actually having a heart problem. A real life issue is actually having cancer. A real life issue is actually having something that's been diagnosed that's physically wrong with you. So no, Missy, let's back it up. You do not have a real life issue. Now, if you go to the doctor and which I'm sure you've been before. I'm not really sure what your story is, but you go to the doctor and you get diagnosed with something, we'll call that a real life issue. But until that happens, we will not call that a real life issue. We will call that you've got pathways, bad, fearful, negative pathways, triggers that are formed in your brain around your heart. Now, until we get the accepting inner voice going, right? So you've made a bad connection between the thought of something being wrong with your heart. You freak out over that. You add the negative inner voice, so the connection gets stronger, right? Not necessarily stronger, but it gets more concrete, right? So that's what's happening. Until we start to catch that negativity and try to apply the accepting inner voice and let those triggers happen without adding too much fuel to the fire with the negativity, right, and just living right through them, that connection will be formed and it'll be maintained, so that every time you think of your heart, your anxiety says, oh yeah, that's a danger, and then here comes the false alarm. So we need those false alarms, right? We need those false alarms so that you can practice not adding fuel to the fire. You can start to break that connection, right? So we need the false alarms, and then we need you to work on breaking that connection with danger with the accepting, by using the accepting inner voice, right? So we can work on disconnecting those fear pathways that exist, right? That's what we need. That's what we need. That's the work, right? That's the practice, because as long as we continue to reinforce a thought about my heart means danger, as long as we continue to reinforce that with negativity, then thought about heart equals danger will be the default programming. It'll be the default go-to for your anxiety, right? It'll be the default go-to. So we gotta break that connection at some point. At some point, we've got to start working on that faulty wiring, right? And believe it or not, if you do that, you'll eventually get to the point where the wiring will be disconnected and the thought of your heart will no longer equal danger. Therefore, you won't get anxiety when you think of your heart. And that's just all about the connections. It's all about the connections. So next time you think of your heart and it leads to a trigger, perfect. We got to activate to generate. So now that you're feeling fear, this is when anxiety learns. So at that point, you got to say to yourself something like, this is faulty wiring. I've just made a bad connection here. I'm going to let this trigger play out. I'm going to keep doing my thing while this plays out. And you'll slowly teach the brain, hey, you don't need this connection. This is a bad connection. It's a false connection. We got to break this connection. Nobody else has that connection, right? Well, I mean, they do, but a lot of people don't have that connection. So Soccer Bob, thank you so much. Drop some purple hearts in the chat. Some purple hearts in the chat. Thank you, guys. Before I read the tip note, I'm just going to say I actually feel the heart skip a beat. Yes, people do actually feel their symptoms, right? But that doesn't make it a real life issue. That makes it's an anxiety issue nonetheless. A real life issue is like a real diagnosis of a heart problem or cancer, right? That's a real life issue. But yes, you will feel your symptoms. I don't want you to think that's unusual. You will feel the symptoms and physical. You will feel them, right? And that's when anxiety is learning. Thank you again, Soccer Mom, for the $10 tip. I don't think I'm having anxiety or panic. I feel frustrated. It could be work-related, editing videos, almost angry. You kind of feel like I'm waiting, preparing for the next panic to happen. So you're probably in an awkward stage where you're not so flooded with the stress hormone and the adrenaline and all the protection chemicals anymore because you're putting in the work, right? You're starting to break bad connections. And you're probably in an awkward stage where you're not so flooded with all that crap, but at the same time, there's some work to be done. So you're kind of in an awkward stage where you're like, hey, I'm not so anxious and panicky like I used to be. This feels different. This feels good. But at the same time, you're kind of like, there's a little bit of dread there. There's some lingering symptoms. There's a little bit of negativity still there about what might come, right? What's around the corner. So sounds to me like you're making progress and you're getting ahead, and there's some lingering stuff still left. There is awkward stages of recovery, right? There's not just the chronic stage and then recovery. There is like an awkward in between. The same advice will apply. The same advice will apply, Soccer Mom. So don't confuse yourself on that. Big Worm, thank you for the purple hearts, dude. Rick, thank you for the purple hearts. Joyce, thank you for the purple hearts. For those of you who are new here, purple hearts represent gratitude to our tippers. We couldn't do it without them. So anytime we get a tip, make sure you drop some purple hearts. Show them some love. Again, huge shout out to Soccer Mom for the first tip of the stream, putting us at 10. We're on a 189-day streak. Thank you guys so much. We would not be here if it wasn't for our tippers. So please show them some love. Please show them some love. Hey, there's nothing wrong with coming to the streams with the mindset of I'm just sharpening my skills, right, Ophelia? There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're using the stuff that you're hearing, then there's nothing wrong with that at all. Hey, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, Mindy, right? I'm gonna shoot you straight. That's what we do around here, right? I'm gonna shoot you straight here for a second. You go to your appointment. You get your reassurance. You get told that there ain't nothing wrong with your heart, right? You go do that. You go do that. And when that's done, I want you to be ready to do this work, right? Because if not, what's going to happen is the connection's still going to be there. Once you get your reassurance that there's nothing wrong with your heart, when you come home, the connection that your heart, the thought of your heart equals danger is still going to be there. But I want you to use, right, the skills that you've got here to break that connection. I want you to start telling yourself a different story with that accepting inner voice so that we can break the thought of my heart equals danger, fear connection pathways that you have formed in your brain. So go do that. Go get your reassurance. Come home and understand that there's still work to be done, right? Understand that there's still going to be work to be done, and do it. Do it, right? Because I want you to get better. Yolanda, thank you for the purple hearts, dude. Appreciate you. Purple hearts show love and gratitude to our tippers. Don't forget it. New, hello. What's up? Rain, how you doing, dude? It's very tricky to know the difference, but I do have to push myself to do too much while I'm already fatigued. I already take breaks. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. Like, if you're seriously about to fall over and you're tired and you're fatigued, there's nothing wrong with getting rest. That's a positive behavior in itself, right? So do that. But just remember to keep that accepting inner voice while you do that. And do try to live a little bit, right? Do try to live a little bit. Try to cut those compulsions and those coping methods out. What's up, Ava? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing fantastic. Been putting these skills to the test. I had an uncomfortable feeling in my chest earlier. By the way, I'm jumping around the comments, guys. I'm trying to keep up. And I almost freaked out, but I'm learning. You're learning and you're practicing, and that's what matters. That's what's going to get you there. One foot in front of the other. Take advantage of any opportunities you have to break those fear pathways. We've been putting it like that the past few streams just to try to put it a different way. We try to mix things up here on the channel, keep it fresh, right? That's kind of the it's kind of the interesting thing about specifically health anxiety. Now, I want you to understand there's no difference between the solution. The two keys is what you're going for, whether it's health anxiety or not, right? But that's the interesting thing about health anxiety. It really proves to us how faulty, bad fear pathway connections work, right? Because you can take someone with health anxiety. I've been doing this for years now. I've seen it happen hundreds of times. You can take someone with health anxiety, send them to go get checked out. They go get checked out. Oh, I got a clean bill of health. They come back. They say, yeah, I got a clean bill of health. I'm feeling good. And then within a few days, they say, oh, I'm anxious again because, what if this, and then what if, they've still got the fear pathways. So every thought about their health is still triggering anxiety because they're not working on breaking the fear pathways, right? So what happens is you get people who rush to the hospital so many times that they ended up getting blacklisted, right? Because they're not working on the fear pathways. So every time they think about their health, whether they've got a clean bill of health from the doctor or not, the fear pathway still exists. So they're still going to get anxiety, right? They got to break the fear pathway. How do they do that? Letting it pop off, so letting the anxiety come, and then having the accepting inner voice during and living your life. That's how you break the fear pathways. So thought about health comes, boom, you're triggered. You say, you know what? I knew this would happen because I've got some fear pathways. This is a good opportunity. I'm going to let it happen. And then they enjoy the rest of their day to the best of their ability. That's how you break the fear pathways. And until you start to do that, well, you can go to the hospital and go to the hospital. Now, I'm not talking about you, Mindy. I'm talking about examples from people that I've had in the past, spoke to in the past. They can go to the hospital as many times as they want, right? And they can come home with as many clean bills of health as they want, but that's why it's a trend. That's why they keep going back. That's why they keep going back, because they've still got the fear pathway. They're not working on breaking the fear pathway, so the brain never learns, hey, this thought of my health does not equal danger. The brain never learns that, so they feel like they have to keep going back and back and back. Going to the hospital is not what's going to solve your anxiety issues. Breaking the fear pathways is what's going to solve your anxiety issues, right? How do you do that? Two keys. Anxiety turns on. You say, great, opportunity. Anxiety learns why anxiety is turned on. I know this is just some bad wiring. And, you tell yourself those things, that accepting inner voice, and you have a productive day despite the anxiety. That's how you break the fear pathways. The hospital won't take away your fear pathways. You will. And you can, starting whenever you want, right? Whenever you want to do it. Feel kind of jumpy inside? Yeah, it's that awkward in between, soccer moms. That awkward in between. It happens. Very normal. Isn't that's kind of a that's not even kinda, that's just a really important realization to make. It's just a really important realization to make, right? That you can't blame life. And as long as you continue to blame life, and because I did for years, guys, as long as you continue to blame life and you say things like, well, if this wasn't a trigger, I'd be okay, and if this person was this, and if this situation wasn't this, then I could recover. As long as you continue to do that, you won't, right? That's just me putting it to you straight. You got to take responsibility. You got to say, look, I've got faulty wiring going on. The hospital's not going to cure my faulty wiring. The reassurance is not going to cure my faulty wiring. The coping methods are not going to cure my faulty wiring. The compulsions are not going to cure my faulty wiring. Only I can, right? And I'm going to have to go through the anxiety without the compulsions and the coping methods. I'm going to have to let that anxiety pop off, and I'm going to have to remind myself, hey, this is good because this is my opportunity, some faulty wiring, let's do this and have a productive day while that's popping off, and you're just reminding yourself of that accepting inner voice. That's what's going to cure your faulty wiring. Not him, not her, not the hospital down the road, not this person, not that person, not this situation, not this going right, not that going right. You, only you, can cure those faulty wiring, can take care of that bad wiring, right? So as long as you're looking for something outside of you to fix your faulty wiring, which I understand, myself included, nobody knew better when we were forming these bad connections, right? Nobody knew better, so that's not your fault. But as long as you look for something outside of you to rewire your own brain, which is the problem that you created, you know, it's not looking good, right? But at any point, you can say, hey, I got to take responsibility for this bad wiring I got going on. I didn't know any better, so it's, you know, not going to blame myself, but I got to take responsibility for it nonetheless, right? And I got to start doing, you know, what I'm hearing here. I got to start using the advice that I'm hearing here, right? At some point, that day of reckoning has to come. It has to come. Without that day, you know, it's always going to be, well, this could fix it and this could fix it, and nothing ever does, right? Nothing ever does. So now that's not a bad thing, guys. That's a good thing when you make that realization, because maybe now we can start working on it. The power has always been in your hands, right? It's always been in your hands. And that's, you know, like I said, that's not a bad thing. That's not a depressing thing. Oh, you know, Wonder Bro told me tonight that this is my fault, and you know, it's not a bad thing. It's just something to make you realize, hey, you know, this is powers in my hands here. Like, I get to decide what I do with this here. No, it's not easy, and no, it's not fun, and you know, we can go on and on about how not easy and not fun it is, but hey, at least I know now that power is in my hands. I get to decide what happens next here. So I get to decide what happens next here. All right. With that, I think we're officially all caught up on questions and comments, all that good stuff. So if anybody's got any more, feel free to ask. Yeah, and it will, Mindy. Your mind will automatically jump into what you've taught it with your negative inner voice, right? But you got to keep pairing that. We did a whole stream on pairing, right? It's not that you have to ignore that. It's that you got to pair that with your new accepting inner voice. Right now, you have worked your negative inner voice and gave it so many steroids that it looks like the Incredible Hulk, right? We made that analogy the other night. So, of course, it's going to pop up, but you need to continue doing the work of pairing that with your accepting inner voice, right? Quit working out the bad shit and start working on the good shit. And it's gonna take effort, right? It's gonna take dedication. It's not gonna feel natural, all that good stuff, yada yada. But we do it anyway because you've got the knowledge and you know what's going on here. Deep down in your heart, you know what's going on here. I don't know if I should have said deep down in your heart. You know what's going on here, right? So you got to work on it. You got to work on it. I find myself using accepting inner voice for any type of negative thinking, whether anxiety-related daily things, worrying if I'm doing things right with recovery itself, or everything negative. Well, keep in mind the accepting inner voice is very short, sweet, and simple. It's not really a debate. It's not an argument. It's just reminding yourself, hey, you know, I know what's going on here. Yada, yada. Use the knowledge that you've learned here on the channel. Retina specialist for my eyes tomorrow. I feel scared. How could you not feel scared when you're not trying to pair the negative thinking about your appointment tomorrow with some accepting thinking? How could you not feel scared? You will continue to feel scared until we work on that negative inner voice and start pairing it up, right? And it's going to take effort. It's going to take dedication, but change will not just fall into your lap, right? You gotta become the change that you want to see, and it takes dedication. You don't necessarily have to always use the accepting inner voice, Julian. If you're not thinking negatively about your symptoms and your thoughts, then you don't necessarily have to use it. But the moment you start thinking negatively about all this, you need to start pairing that up with the accepting inner voice, right? Does that make sense? Rick, thank you so much. Purple hearts, guys. Get some purple hearts in the chat. Thank you, Rick, for the $5 tip, man. I appreciate you. We are at 15, guys. We are at 15 on a 189-day streak. So please drop some purple hearts in the chat for Rick and Soccer Mom. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate ya. All right, I'm glad that makes sense to you, Julian. Yes, let's get some Purple Hearts going, guys. For example, Craig, if you're sitting there thinking about your appointment tomorrow and you're working your negative inner voice out, which means you're using it, and you're like, oh, you know, what if I pass out and blah, blah, blah. How could you not feel scared? Craig, you've been here for like 5 years now. What the fuck do you mean accepting inner voice question mark? Do you listen to anything? I'm going to throw my entire fucking computer out the window. Craig, what do you mean accepting inner voice question mark? And for anybody who's wondering, me and Craig go way back. This is how we interact. He's one of my best friends, so don't think I'm being a douchebag. I love Craig. Craig, what the hell do you mean accepting inner voice question mark? Seriously, dude? Seriously? Am I up here doing this for nothing? Fucking hell, Craig. Listen. Accepting inner voice question mark. What do you mean? So if you're sitting there using the negative inner voice and you're like, oh, what if I pass out at the doctor's office tomorrow? You need to stop that and pair that with, you know what? It's okay if this fear is here. I can handle this. You know, whatever you want to tell yourself. Get creative, right? I'm not here to tell you what to tell yourself. Get creative. Get creative. You know, but you got to stop that negative inner voice. Not necessarily stop it, because it just kind of comes out of habit, but pair that up with a new accepting inner voice. You know what? This fear is allowed to be here. I can handle tomorrow. You know, whatever you want to tell yourself. Don't get too involved with the fight and the specifics. Just whatever you want to tell yourself. Keep it short, sweet, and simple, right? Short, sweet, and simple. That's the best way to utilize the accepting inner voice. Keep it short, sweet, and simple. But you got to pair some of that negative thinking up, right? And it's not going to feel natural to do that because you're not used to doing that. The negative inner voice is the habit, right? The negative inner voice is the habit, and it comes automatically, and you're going to start pairing it with the accepting inner voice, whatever you want to tell yourself, right? Short, sweet, and simple. Accepting, hey, bad connections, it's okay, I got a bad connection. It's okay for this fear to be here. You know, whatever you want to tell yourself. You know, you got to start doing that pairing work, right? Yeah, it's definitely, once you start doing it, it becomes a practice thing, Yolando, for sure. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah, I love Craig. Craig's a close friend of mine. I don't want anyone to think that I would randomly yell at somebody like that. But Craig's a good guy. Let's see. that cracked me up, dude. Too funny. All right. So I tell the eye doctor tomorrow that I'm short, sweet. Okay, now you're just trolling me, Craig. You know what? Now you're just trolling me. Don't borrow trouble, Craig. I love it. I love that old catchphrase there, Joyce. It's so true. I just say, good, if I get a stupid thought, I hope it does happen. Or you can be more blunt and aggressive like that, Jonathan. I mean, yeah, true. Anything that keeps you out of the negative fight and keeps you in an accepting attitude, or, you know, working on the accepting attitude, you're not going to be perfect, right? None of you guys are going to be perfect at this, but you got to start pairing the negative thinking with the accepting thinking to get that attitude going. Even if it's just like 5%, you got to start working on it, right? You're building a muscle here. Building the accepting inner voice is like building a muscle. And then what do? You keep living your life. The two main keys, the accepting inner voice and live your life, right? You are short, sweet, and simple. I think you're a shorter guy, and you're a sweet dude, and you're a pretty simple man. So yeah, I guess you are short, sweet, and simple, correct? Yeah, I agree with that. JT, thank you for the purple hearts. Yes, huge shout out to Soccer Mom and Rick for their tips tonight. We are at 15, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. We're having some laughs tonight. It's a good stream. Really, laughter is the best medicine here because this is all just some faulty wiring. You're not going to be hurt by it. Nothing's going to happen to you because of it. You're just, for lack of better words, to be a little blunt, yeah, it makes you pretty miserable, right? But at the end of the day, it's just some faulty wiring. Laughter really is the best medicine. I mean, use it to your advantage. You could even use that with your accepting inner voice. Best video we ever made was just shut the fuck up. Yeah, that was a pretty straight to the point video, but it's true. I mean, it's true. Mm. 5'8", 255. That's all right, Craig. You said kind of heavy. Nah, dude, you're good. Today, when everything was testing me, anxiety was cut off with okay. Like I wasn't surprised. Yeah, it's just kind of like I know what's happening here. Bad wiring, just wiring short circuits. It's bad faulty wiring going a little bit crazy here. That's okay. I'm going to feel it to heal it. It's just reminding yourself of the truth instead of getting involved in the fight with the specifics of everything, right? I think you did excellent today with that. Nova must be a little cold because she just came and jumped under. I've got a blanket on me because it is a little chilly in here. She must be a little chilly too because she just came and like nuzzled her way under the blanket and now she's going to bed. That was the most adorable thing ever. Strong fear emotions can't hurt me. Fear cannot hurt you. Fear cannot hurt you. Greg, I want you to continue to tell yourself whenever you have negative thoughts about your appointment tomorrow, I just want you to remember these words. I want you to tell yourself, I can handle it. It's just some faulty wiring, right? I can handle it. I want to keep it short, sweet, and simple because like you said, you are short, sweet, and simple. So I want you to work on it, Craig. I want you to, you don't have to use those words. If you like something better, go for it. But I want you to work on it. I really want you to work on it. Feel it to heal it. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Because, again, we know here on the channel, we say this all the time. Anxiety learns while anxiety is turned on. So feel it to heal it could be your accepting inner voice. Because automatically it puts you in more of a mindset, maybe not 100%, but it puts you in a little bit more of a mindset of, okay, yeah, I do have to feel this, and that's good because I'm feeling it, therefore I'm healing it. Let's go, right? So, you've got creative freedom with your accepting inner voice, guys. You find what you like. But that's a good one. That is a good one. Feel it to heal it. You can mix it up. You can have a different accepting inner voice each day, or you can stick to the same one, whatever. You find what you like, but feel it to heal it is very true because it's all facts. If I lived near you, I would have done it for free as I'm a roofer. Damn, dude. Well, hey, it's the thought that counts, man. I appreciate that, John. It starts on the 27th, so a couple days. Fucking approaches OP. Yeah, Ghost is a fan of that one. I think after this stream goes off, I'll be honest with you guys, I've had Little Caesars in my brain, man, from the moment I've woken up today. I want some of that cheesy, that crazy cheese bread, crazy bread cheese shit. And I've got some in the fridge, and we're gonna cook that. We're gonna hook it up, man. We're gonna hook it up. I need a new roof. Someone said I can have my insurance pay for it. Usually if it's a natural disaster that caused the damage, yes. Unfortunately for me, that was not the case. It was 40 years of neglect. Because I didn't think I'd be staying and trying to save this home. So, but you can try. Maybe it's different where you live. I don't know. Not really sure about that. I know for me, unless it's a natural disaster that causes the damage, you are shit out of luck. That's basically what I was told, so. Different states, though, right? Different states, different regulations, different rules. So it's worth trying. Everybody's talking about weight loss, and I'm just like, yo, dude, Little Caesars, man. Said it was the wind. Cut down a tree. Cut down a tree on top of it on purpose, only to get told, I don't know who told you that, but we don't cover this. That would happen to me. Kate, hello. Hello, Kate. Little Caesars is closed now. It is, but see, I come in clutch because I've got the make your own kits from Little Caesars in the fridge. I thought you were going to stay away from the greasy, cheesy food. Yes, I've got an update on that. Here's the good news, Mindy. It was never the lactose. It was never the greasy food. I found out that I was having stomach attacks and stomach pain from the Mountain Dew I was drinking, and I cut it out of my diet, and now I haven't had one of those since I cut it out, which has been months ago. So yes, we got some good news tonight. So na 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 boo boo, I can eat all the greasy food I want. Na 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 boo boo. Na 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 boo boo. Na 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 boo boo. I'm gonna eat some doo doo. Not doo doo, not actual doo doo, but like doo doo as in greasy bad food. I did have to get rid of my Mountain Dew though, which was painful, but not as painful as the stomach spasms and attacks that it was causing, so I guess it's okay. And I don't take any sort of pride in that, right? Like, I don't say, yeah, I held myself so accountable that I was able to cut out the soda. Like, I don't take any pride in that. The only reason I did it was because it was causing me tremendous amounts of pain. So it was worth it. I don't think I get to take credit for that. If I just cut the soda out because I wanted to be healthier, then I would take full credit. But I did it because it was killing me. So I think, you know, I don't really get much credit for that one. Cut out smoking. Can we get a ban on Ghost in Chat? We got any admins that can give me a ban real quick on Ghost in Chat? Can we get a ban over here on aisle 2? You're not being annoying. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. You're right. It's killing me. It's killing me slowly though, and I don't feel the effects right now, so that's all good. We'll put it off until it's too late. Nobody got balls to ban me. I wouldn't be so quick to say that. Kate is in the chat right now. And she probably would just because you said that. Very strong bout of sensitization. Every some days I get this flashback of how I used to be, and this contrast throws me off. Well, there's nothing wrong with necessarily looking back as long as you're looking back in the right way, right, Pawn? If you look back and you say, hey, I can get back to that. I can get back to that if I embrace this faulty wiring and live my life and keep the accepting inner voice. So if you look back in the right way, it can be actually kind of encouraging. But don't look back in such a negative way, right? So I guess it does come full circle with the accepting inner voice again, right? My dad, Joyce says my dad had to stop Mountain Dew. Also, he had severe back pain and even quit his job, but the doctor said it was the Mountain Dew. That's crazy. Severe back pain from Mountain Dew? You would never guess that. I was blaming my stomach attacks, because when I say stomach attacks, I mean like almost wanting to cry for like 8 hours on end, like fetal position in the bathtub with hot water. You wouldn't think that something like soda could cause that. You wouldn't think something like soda could cause that, but it gave your dad such bad back pain that he had to quit his job. That is insane to me. So I was blaming everything but the soda because it just didn't click. I didn't even think about it. I was like, yeah, I got to be lactose intolerant. No, that's not it. Yeah, maybe I've got a gluten allergy. No, that's not it. Yeah, maybe I've got gallstones. Yeah, that's not it. And then the last thing was like, well, damn, what is a constant in my diet? Mountain Dew. Alright, that's the only constant here, so let's just ease up on that. And then it went away. Then it went away. All my problems were solved. Haven't had another bout of stomach pain in months. Haven't had any more pain in months. What's up, Wonder Bro? What's up, Edmund? I have an exam in 2 hours and listen to you. Calms my nerves down. God bless you. Well, welcome, dude. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Kate said I tried. It won't let me. See, I told you. Told you, Ghost. You are not safe. Four 2-liters? Like actual 4 2-liters? Which I guess me drinking 6 cans a day is just as bad, but probably about the same amount. Alright, guys. Last night we did a hangout stream. It's still up on the channel, actually, because it was just so much fun. I decided to leave it up. We normally delete those, but it was just a really fun time. Anyway, during that hangout stream, we got a get out of jail free card from Olivia. So we're going to pull that. We're going to use that get out of jail free card on the tip goal tonight and keep our tip goal going. Olivia, you're probably not watching this because it's a really odd hour, but I'm burpy all of a sudden. Thank you so much, Olivia, for that. So we're going to pull that get out of jail free card because I am starving now. You guys have made me crave something. I need something. I have to eat something now. So we're going to use that get out of jail free card. So the tip goal is safe. The streak is safe. But we are out of those now. We are officially out of those. Thank you so much, Olivia, for that last night. I appreciate you. It's been a good one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here and supporting the streams as always. I've enjoyed chatting and having some laughs with you guys tonight. I can't talk now all of a sudden. Thank you for everything, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon. Wait a minute. Pawn says, what does following a thought mean? Like if I try to not do it, feels like it's getting where I'm forcing acceptance to make it stop. That's So what not following a thought means is you're accepting inner voice towards it. You don't get involved in a fight with it. That's all it means. We switched those terms up. We used to use that statement way back in the day, and now we just call it the accepting inner voice. As long as you're not fighting with the thought and you're just like, hey, that's faulty connection. It's okay to feel this fear. My brain is learning. And you're not getting into the specifics too much with the thought, right? You're keeping the specifics kind of out of it. You're like, hey, I know that's just some faulty wiring. As long as you're doing that, you're not following the thought, right? So we changed those words up a little bit to make it make a little bit more sense. Anyway, hope that helps. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Until next time, as always, stay awesome.